But what? They're not successful. Why?
So that's his why buy. But what is he afraid of?
My personal style of education, but still entertain them, bring them along with stories, right? Who do we want to learn from? People who are what? Killing it.
If you're a real man, what do you do? I'm not the only one.
You can't wait to tell your spouse. You can't wait to tell your colleague. You can't wait to go to work and tell somebody. And you're like, oh my God, I can't wait. So what happened?
If you haven't seen my TV show, you should get cable. That's what we need to do.
From doing a TV show to doing corporate events, I've been so lucky to connect with many passionate entrepreneurs worldwide.
What I've learned from a business perspective.
Because this is the formula for success, no matter who you talk to. Attitude will drive your behavior. Would you agree? And your behavior will drive your consequences every single time.
All right, we got the concept. Okay, we got the concept. We got the equipment, right? We got the brand. You guys got that. And then again, we got the content that we create. That's the easy part. This is the big one, the big C, which is the commitment.
What should you do? That's right. All right. 10Xers, do not fail me. True test. Here it comes.
There's skill, and then there's will. Listen to what I'm saying. There is skill, and then there is will. And here's the interesting thing. I know a lot of people who have a lot of skill, but have no what? Will, right? You ever look at somebody who's successful, and you say, why them, why not you? Yes, okay, that's me too.
You have more control, but your costs are also going to be what? Higher.
Now, here's where some of the magic is starting to kick in.
You can talk to any CEO in the B2B business, any CEO. You walk into his office and they only care about three things. People too. Yeah, you with the suit, put it up. There you go. I hope you can see this. I'll try to draw big. Let's pretend for a moment that I had 7 territories. You remember I wrote that out? Yes or no? Boom. Territory 2, territory 3, all the way to territory number what? 7. So now I've segmented my market.
So content is going to start being created by machines. And I'm telling you right now that those people, you guys, the content creators that connect with people are the ones that are going to win. Some people think, well, it won't work for my industry. Really? It'll work for any industry. Trust me. The majority of the time when we're looking to fix something, repair something, or learn something, where do we go? YouTube. We don't even want to read anymore. We go to YouTube. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong.
When you're doing your thing, beautiful things begin to happen. It's like the law of attraction kicks in. You know what I mean? It's almost like you're in line with the universe. Everything works. And when you do your thing, everybody gets an automatic MBA, which stands for what? Mega Bank Account Money. Are you with me? So we don't want to do a thing. We want to do a what? Beautiful.
All right, put it all together for Victor Antonio. Here we go.
All right, there we go. I'm not here to mess around. You ready to learn? Yes or no?
That's how it works in today's market. Whether it's B2B or B2C, you see the similar patterns. How do you just, in other words, say you got to start doing these things, pushing them, but also encouraging them. Oh, look at this. This is where it gets, dude, this is like so interactive with audiences, Matt. Can you imagine this with your customers? Check this out. Now, what does all this have to do with selling? It has everything to do with selling.
All right, welcome to another episode of Sales After Dark. Man, how's everybody doing today? By the way, if you're watching this on the replay, man, fast forward. I'm about to say hi to my fellow tribesmen here. and tribeswomen. So let me kind of get this up here so I can bring the comments on the board. And first up, what? Mia Knox, West Coast in the house. I never had you first, Mia. Way to go, man. Thank you for being here. Next one is DJ Kitty Fatale, as in Femme Fatale. Good evening, right back at you, DJ Kitty, man. Thank you for joining us. First time here. Let me know where you're from. Pete, what's happening? Hi, Victor. Gator couldn't make it tonight. He says hi. Right back at him. And hi to everybody. He'll catch you on the replay. Pete Primo from Cleveland, Ohio, man. Ready to learn, man. Do your thing, man. Way to go, man. Thanks, Pete. Man, I missed the past few sessions. Why, Matt? Why did you miss the past few sessions, man? Been too busy applying the concepts and selling like a madman. All right. That's cool. I'll go for that, Matt. That's good. Thanks for all you do to make us better, man. Thank you, man, for being here. Chad Stingley. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Let's learn about the buyer, man. That's what we're going to do tonight. Sergio Perez from Panama. Bienvenido, hermano. Thank you for being here. TJ, what is happening? Good evening, Massive VA. Mia, Peter, everybody else. SAD in the house, ready to celebrate and learn indeed. We're going to do it, man. Spencer, what do you got here, man? Around the corner in Alpharetta, the place to be, man. Man, it's kind of blowing up around here, right? There's just so much building going on around. Always love your sessions. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. My man, Chris Stone. If you love that intro, then you got to love Chris Stone, man. And by the way, check out the Sales Influence podcast. Chris is doing some great stuff with the video interviews I'm doing, and that's the man right there if you need some help with that. Kitty says, Europe is here too. All right. Love Europe, man. Love the DJs over in Europe, by the way. I'm into Deep House, Kitty. Don't know about you, but Deep House is my thing right now. Michelle Verba. Good morning, Victor. Where you from, Michelle? Hit me up again. I don't remember. Maestros en Oficios. Hi from Argentina. I used to live there 2 años en Pilar, cerquita Pilar en Highland. El country in Highland. So I loved it, man. Casta has the Sales Influence podcast, baby. Check out the Sales Influence podcast. In fact, one of the things we're going to talk about tonight is the Sales Influence podcast. Europe, Croatia here. DJ Kitty, man, thank you for joining us, man. I don't know what time it is over there, but it's got to be just a little late. Yes, hiya, Moskowitz. I got to be close, right? From New Jersey, man. Welcome, man. New Jersey in the house. Jerome Mayo, I'm here. I'm excited. Thank you for being here. Tarun, there you are, man. There you are. Good morning from India, man. Thank you for getting up. Same thing, man. Oh, love it, man. All right, cool. Yasi Chasmovitz. Did I mess that up, Yasi? But I like your first name, man. How you doing, man? From New York City. New York, big city of dreams. But everything in New York isn't always what it seems. Do you remember that song, Yasi? Or are you too young for that, man? Ohio in the house with Jerome Mayo. And my man Michelle's from, boom, India. I know it's early over there. Thank you for joining me. Now, let me jump into this. Yesaya said I got it right. All right, man. Thank you for being polite. I'm sure I didn't get it exactly right, but I was close. We got what? Wait a minute. This one deserves a pause. Boom. Rob from Norway. Norway. My man, how you doing, Rob? Glad you're here. Last one, TJ, before I jump into it. Watch the Sales Influence. Follow up and close the deal. That was with Jeff Shore. I learned another golden lesson. Yeah, by the way, so again, check out the Sales Influence podcast. I'm doing interviews now. I call them the Sales Influencer podcast, where I'm trying to find experts, but not just expert. I'm trying to find a lot of frontline salespeople, and I'm working with Chris on finding some of the best people that we can interview to give you real strategies. So I'm trying to move away from the fluffy stuff up here and give you some real content, what people are really doing on the front line. So check out some of the interviews. So again, whether it's on Spotify, Pandora, wherever you get your podcast, just find Sales Influence Podcast. It's ranking high. It's moving up on the charts. So click on it, download it, show your love, show your support. Thank you very much. Now, on that note, I brought on a guy who will probably release this podcast next week. If Chris gets it done, we'll release it next week. So the gentleman I interview, his name is Frank Visgaitis. I used to call him Visgaitis. He told me, no, it's Visgaitis, Victor. Frank Visgaitis. He wrote a book called Centric Selling. Now, I read this book years ago, and it's been recently updated. So I reached out to Frank because, the content in the book is just special. By the way, I just added this. If you go down into the description, you're going to see a link that says a link for Victor's recommendations. So people have been asking me, said, Victor, what books do you like? What books do you read? So I created an Amazon link to all the books I like. And also, if you want to find out about all the pieces of equipment I have in my studio here, click on that link also. So I created 2 lists, one for books and one is for studio equipment, just to make it easy, just for you, so you don't have to keep asking me, because I love you. There you go. But anyway, back to Frank. So I'm interviewing Frank, and he reminded me of a buying curve that I remember the first time I saw this buying curve, I said, there it is. Now, I believe the book was first released in 2004. Now, wait a minute. I know what you're thinking. Victor, 2004, that's 16 years ago. Good, you can do math. But wait a minute. I am telling you, this guy was ahead of his time, because the buying curves I'm going to show you today, it's just one slide. I'm going to show you one slide. And if you get this slide, you really understand buying behavior even today. This guy nailed it. Again, the book is called Centric Selling. It's in that link with Victor's recommendations. Check it out. Let me show you the graph, and then you and I are going to talk about it. And I'm telling you, if you're presenting to people, trying to sell them, you really need to take this into consideration. And this is just one graph, one image, powerful. You know when they say one picture is worth 1,000 words? This one's worth about 10,000 words. So let me just show you the image. That's it. Looks a little confusing, but it is really an awesome image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this, put my little head up there, boom, okay? All right, now, this is all about, I want you to, let's create a scenario. Let's create a scenario. Your car broke down. Your car broke down just one too many times. And you say, that's it. That's it. I'm going to get a new car, right? So that's the trigger. So before any buying begins, there has to be some type of trigger. Something happens that causes you to say, you know what? I need to go out and find me a new car. Now, here's what's going to happen. You're going to go through 3 phases. The first one is the solution phase right here, right? As if my mark can get up here. Hold on a second. I'm writing in white. That's why it's not showing it, right? So right here is phase 1, right? Phase 1 is right there. Solution development. And I'll explain these. And I'm just telling you, if you just hang in there with me, this will be so worth it for you. Solution 1, solution development means it's like you're trying to figure out, okay, I need to find the right car. But look over here to the left. You're looking at needs. You're also thinking about cost. You also want to find the ideal solution. And you're also concerned about risk, right? We're going to plunk some money down. There's some risk associated. But now look at the curves. Now, don't look at the bottom. Forget the bottom. Like this right here, don't look at the bottom. Just focus up here. Notice that when your car first breaks down and you're at the car dealership, you're looking for a car, notice which curve is dominant. And that is you're trying to find out what it is you need, right? Like what type of car am I looking for? Is it going to be a sports car? Is it going to be a 2-door? Is it going to be a 4-door? Is it going to be a minivan? Is it going to be an SUV? You're trying to figure out what it is you want. And notice that you're not really concerned about cost. Cost is down here, but you have some needs and you want to make sure you find the what? The right solution, right? And you're not thinking about the risk yet because you're nowhere near making a commitment because you're just looking. You're just trying to figure out what it is you want. Now, that's a B2C example. Let's go to a B2B example. In a B2B example, let's say the company has some type of system failure, right? Now, they're doing research online and they're looking for the right solution. So they're more concerned about finding right here. They're more up here trying to find the right solution. They're not thinking about, or here are their needs, here's the solution fit. They're not thinking about cost yet, and they're not risking it down here because they're not really thinking about that yet. But now what happens? You start defining what it is you want. You go, you know what? I think I want this, right? My personal example that I like to use is I was looking for a microphone. The last microphone I had too much noise. And I was like, that's it. I'm not recording with this microphone anymore. So then I went online to figure out what I needed. I was up here at the top. What do I need for a microphone? So I'm researching. What do I need? What do I need? What do I need? But I'm not thinking about these other 3 curves right here. I'm not thinking about these. But now, once I figure out what I need, I start narrowing it down. Does this ever happen to you? You start narrowing it down. And now you start maybe getting it down to 1 or 2 options. Well, now you're definitely in the evaluation phase. Let me just give this one a different color here. And now that you're in the evaluation phase, look at what's happening now. What's interesting is that if you see the solution, right? Because now you're looking for a solution fit. That's a solution fit. Right now, your primary concern is a solution fit. This thing has to fit what I want. Now, needs goes down because you think you found the fit. Needs goes down because you think you found a fit, but look what's rising. Look what's rising as you're moving towards a decision. What's rising? Risk is rising. Price, you're not thinking about it yet, and it's still down here. This is what's interesting. Price is still down there. Now, again, put yourself in the position. You're looking for a piece of equipment, right? And all of a sudden you start narrowing it down. But you want to know that it's the right equipment. I mean, you're looking at price. So we're considering price, but right now I want to make sure I got the right solution, the right fit. So fit sits right here. Got the right fit. And then as you're moving closer to making a decision, a commitment phase, notice again that risk starts to rise. Now, the most fascinating part about this is that let's say you narrow it down to maybe one or two and you're ready to pull the trigger. And as you're ready to pull the trigger, about to make the decision, buy that car, you've asked about financing, you've asked about all these things, you're ready to make a commitment to buy this new platform, then all of a sudden now, let's go with yellow, you're in phase 3. And this is the part that blew me away. What is the major concern once you're in the commitment phase? In other words, you're ready to make a buying decision. What are you concerned about more? And this blew my mind. If you follow this right here, that's what? Risk. And risk trumps what? Price. Now notice the other two curves kind of go away because you figured out what you wanted and what you needed. You had some needs and you found a solution. So these two basically go away. But now the only two left are risk and price. And notice that risk is much higher than the actual price. See, this answers the question that are people more price sensitive? No, I think they're risk averse. In other words, they don't want to have to make a decision. We all know the stats. We've seen the different stats. I've talked about them before. Let me see if I can write them in a different color. I know this is getting messy. But if you remember, typically you'll win 40% of your deals. You'll lose 60% of those deals, right? Right? You'll lose 60% of those deals. Now, when you look at the 60%, 20% went to your competition, but the other 40% went to what? No decision. No decision. Why did they go? Let me get that down here so you can see it. 20% went to your competition, 40% went to no decision. Why no decision? Because too much risk. The perception of risk is too high. And so let me clear this all out. Because what is all this saying? Is that if you look at these phases, customers go through these different phases, but when you get to the end, risk is what people are worried about if they make the wrong decision. Price is always secondary. So what is our job? Our job is, one, to reduce risk, got it, but it's also, when it comes to price, is to build value. This we know, right? This we know. So keep in mind that as the customer's moving through this, there's different concerns. Now, let me tie it back to what people do wrong in a presentation, because this is where it really pays off. What do people do wrong in a presentation? Well, let's think about this. Too often, we try to give the customer too much information, but the customer still in this phase is trying to figure out what they want. This is not the time to dump everything on them. This is the time, this is why the discovery phase of any conversation is important, because in the discovery phase, the solution phase, you're asking a lot of questions to figure out what the customer wants. And if they want these 5 things, you want your product to fit to those 5 things. Too often we start out presentations just telling them everything we can do, but they're not there yet. They're still trying to figure out what they need. Listen, this is important. Sell to their needs first and then upsell them later to what they may need. When they move into the evaluation phase, you can talk about other things, but for the first phase, it's pure discovery. Now, what's also interesting in today's market is that many customers are going through this phase right here, They're doing that mostly online. They're doing it mostly online. They're trying to figure out what they need. The solution development, what they need for a solution, they're doing it online. We know the numbers, we've heard them. They're either 57, 85, or 90% into the buying process, which means they've already gone through the first phase. They've already done the needs development, right? The solution fit. They're figuring out what they need. Then they contact you. Tell me if this has ever happened to you. Somebody calls you up or meets with you and says, look, we've already done our research. We've narrowed it down to 2 or 3 companies. We've narrowed it down to 2 or 3 companies. They're in this what? Evaluation phase when they call you. We've already nailed it down to 2 or 3 companies. You're one of them. Please tell us why your product is better. Good or bad? Good or bad? Good or bad? And the answer is bad, right? Depending on how you handle it. When somebody reaches out, another big mistake. So first mistake is in the first phase, we overwhelm the customer beyond what they need. We show them too much. We got to show them exactly what they need. Number 2, the error people make is that when a customer calls you up, said, I've done my research online, I've noted down to 2 or 3 vendors, 2 or 3 suppliers, whatever it may be. Why is yours better than XYZ? We want you to come in and talk about that. And what happens is you try to answer that question. Well, the reason we're better is because of this, because of that. You start going through all this, right? And as soon as you start explaining, you're losing the conversation. The best of the best salespeople, if the customer comes in at this phase, what the best salespeople do is they pump the brakes. And they said, glad to hear that we're in the top 3. Can I ask you a few questions as to how you decided why we were the top 3 and what are you currently looking for? In other words, what are your specifications? And what you're trying to do is push them back where? Into this phase right here. This is important. This is simple but important. Because what you want to do is the customer did their own discovery, and now they're saying, hey, we narrowed it down to you, 1, 2, 3. You're one of the 3. Bake-off time. Why are you better, right? And you're put in a position where you don't really understand their needs. What you want to do is tell them, well, let's take a step back. Before I can tell you why we're better than the other 2 competitors, let us figure out first what it is you really need, and tell me what it is you're trying to accomplish. And what you're doing is pushing them back into this part right here. Because if you don't do this, if you don't nudge them back into the discovery phase, redefining what solution they need, if you don't do that, when you get to the end, the 3rd phase, the commitment phase, it's going to be all about price. But, if they hit you in 2nd phase, which is where most people are coming in, if they're coming in right here, what you want to do is push them back here to say, well, let's take a step back and figure out what it is you really need to make sure our product service matches up with what you're looking for. Then I can tell you what our strengths are and even our weaknesses. And the customer's going to say, well, we've done our research. Understand that you've done your research, but let me understand what it is you need, and maybe I'll be able to provide some insight that you currently don't have. It's a very strong way of saying it, but you're saying, let's go back and reset. This is important. So when a customer calls you up and says, why are you better? You need to basically pump the brakes and take them back into phase 1, because they're at phase 2, where you need to take them back to phase 1, redefine the priorities. In other words, here's what we think you need, categorize the priorities, what are the criterias, right? Reprioritize them, and then say, here's how our products fit, and here are the specific products or services we have to offer. That's the 2nd mistake. You don't take them back to phase 1. As you move into phase 3, this one's a big one. So I'm going to give you 3 mistakes. Here's the 3rd mistake. This one is going to change your presentation. Look at the bottom axis, the x-axis. You'll see product. Let me just take that out for a second. You'll see people. You'll see product. Take that out. And then you'll see company, right? This is important. Let me shift up here on my little graphic. This is important because in the first phase of the conversation, what you want to do is connect with them. This is where you build the rapport and the relationship by asking great discovery questions, right? Remember, the quality of the questions will determine the quality of the conversations. So this is where the real connections begin. Now, what is the mistake? Well, let me go through this real quickly. Then the 2nd phase is when you move into the evaluation, well, now you're talking about the product. But here's the big aha. Notice the 3rd phase is what? It's all about the company. It's all about the company. Whether you can fulfill your promises through product or service delivery. Now, here's the interesting part. Many presentations, I'm going to venture to guess 8, maybe 9 out of 10 presentations always talk about the company where? Here, at the beginning. We've all seen those presentations, right? They start out, well, the first slide is they tell you who they are, what's their mission statement, how long they've been around. Look at all the facilities we have. Look how big our plants are. Look how big our manufacturing. Look how many people we have working. They show you the map where all the locations of all their, headquarters. And then they show you, the logo slide that has all the companies they've worked with. And they've just spent 5 to 10 minutes talking about who they are. But the customer who's right here, in many cases, is focused on what? Talk to me about what we need. The best time to talk about your company is after you've connected with the people, you've built a rapport, you understand what they need. Phase one, your solution matches up. Now, let's move into the evaluation. Let me tell you what products and services we have to offer to fulfill those needs. Now we're in that part. We're in the middle right now. And then in the third phase, when they're talking about risk, remember, this is risk right here. And how do you mitigate risk? How do you reduce risk? You reduce risk by obviously showing them some social proof. Here are companies just like yours who've been using them, showing them case studies, whatever, doing demos over again, whatever they need to see. But the most important piece is letting them know who you are as a company. See, that's when you talk about who your company is. That's when you drop the boom on and say, here's what we've done. Here's who we've worked with. Here's how long we've been doing it. And what you're trying to do is pull this curve down. You're trying to pull that curve down right there. And then again, price, you'll equal that with value. But what you're trying to do is pull that risk curve down by talking about your company towards the end. If you put it at the beginning, which a lot of people do, customer doesn't care. They're focused on their solution. Give me my answer. I want my answer. That's what they want. And this is a powerful curve. I mean, really study this. I want you to get the book Customer Centric Selling. I think they're updating it again for 2020, and it's a great book. And I'm telling you, just this curve alone is worth, as I say, the price of admission. So if you go down in the link, you'll see Victor's recommendation. It's in there, Customer Centric Selling. And that's all I had to talk to you about today. The big aha for me that I wanted to share with you is that if you want to, at the end, most people think it's about price. But really sometimes it's about just what? Mitigating that risk. A lot of people don't want to make a buying decision. And one way to do that is to really talk about how your company is going to back them up. So instead of front loading your presentation with who you are, what you've done, and all the great things you're doing, pull it all the way towards the end. By the way, I'm not saying that you don't say who you are as a company. It's not what I'm saying. So I'm not saying you don't talk about your company. You can just say something simple at the beginning. By the way, our company's been in this industry for the last 15, 20 years. We've worked with many companies just like yours. As I move towards the end of the presentation, I'll show you some of the case studies and some of the companies we've worked with just like yours. That's all you have to say. Something like that. Right at the beginning, they go, okay, you're just basically kicking it down the road. And then when you get to the end and they love you, you've defined their needs, you move into evaluation, you have the right product, you line up, and then it's all about risk in the last phase, the commitment phase. That's when you talk about your company. That's when you talk about your success rate. That's when you talk about the companies you've helped. That's when you implement my value trinity, increase revenue, reduce costs, or expand market share. That's when you drop that in there. That's when you have those conversations. So again, check out the book, Customer Centric Selling. And I'll take some comments right now, man. I know there's comments scrolling, man. So I'm just like kind of looking at all these comments as they're scrolling. Let me go back to the top because I know there's a lot of comments. If I missed your comment, I'm sorry. Just hit it again. I think we're about right here. Doug Lehman's chiming in. You're not fronting on the front, selling experts in layman's terms. I'm not, man. Let me see. I got the same one. This will be a stream worthy of saving in my sales playlist. Inquisitor has chimed in. And did I miss your second one here, Doug? Let me see. You're not fronting on the frontline sales experts. Well done, Vic, in layman's terms. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it, man. Jerome says, oh my God, I was checking out Victor's studio equipment list on Amazon and he was talking and I literally went through every phase he just talked about. Oh, that's awesome, man. That was good, Jerome. That was really good, man. School is in, man. School is in. There you go, Pete. Sales Influence Podcast. There you go. Check it. There's the link, man. Just click on it. Sign up for the Sales Influence Podcast. I'm telling you, I'm bringing you interviews. I tell Chris this all the time. If you take Joe Rogan and you put him in the world of selling, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring real stuff that you can use and get past all the blah, blah stuff out there. So if you really want some real cool stuff that you're not going to get on Sales After Dark, check out the Sales Influence Podcast, man. So thank you. TJ says, I'm like in a math class, Pete, but this is very important, man. It's not that bad, man. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. This is everything Pete says. Vinay says, how do startup companies manage the risk aspect with the customer? Beautiful question, Vinay, because that's one of the questions you're going to get if you're a startup company, right, and you're trying to work with the customer, one of the objections you're going to get is like, well, you haven't been around that long, right? That's what they're going to tell you. You haven't been around that long, or you're not that big. And so there's one or two ways of handling that. And again, it depends on the context, but I'm going to give you a real answer, Vinay. One of the things I know that works is that I like to use, I would say, lean into the objection. I know that one of the objections is going to be, you're a startup company, you haven't been around for more than a year. Why should I trust you? That's a big one, right? But one of the things I'm a proponent of is to block the objections. So if you see my stuff, unblock the objections, check it out. And on that, what I would say, here, let me get you off the big board here. Let me put you over here. Vinay, is that one of the things I always say is, I said, being a small startup company is actually an advantage. One, if you work with a large company, you're in their massive pipeline, right? Two, you don't get the personalized service that we're going to give you. Three, whatever changes need to be made, we can probably turn on a dime. In other words, do very quickly. So what I would do is take my weakness and turn it into a strength. I'm a startup company. That's exactly why you want to deal with me. All these other companies have been around for 5, 10 years, still doing the same thing, dealing with legacy systems, blah, 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 whatever your pitch is. But here's why you want to work with a startup company. And I would try to find ways to block those objections before they're elevated. So I want to remind you, Vinay, if you haven't checked out the Sales Velocity Academy, check out the Sales Velocity Academy, because in there I got a course called Blocking Objections, which to me is my most valuable course, which is how do you set these things up during your presentations to block objections and reduce resistance. So that would be one way. The other way, I'm not avoiding the question, the second way of doing it is that you got to have a few successes under your belt. Right? We can all agree with that you got to have 2 or 3 customers, and this part you know already. I would have a couple of customers under my belt that have been very successful and are using my product or my services, and then be able to refer to them. That's social proof. That's what they want to know. But I still go back to number one. Don't look at being a startup company as a negative, as one of those things that they're going to say, oh, that's why you don't want to work with you. No, that's why you want to work with us. We're a startup company. We're young. We're hungry. We're willing to do what you need to get done. We're willing to act very quickly, turn around things quickly, blah, blah, so forth and so on. That would be my presentation/pitch. Let me know what you think of that. Or was it too short for you, Vinay? Where is that graph from? It's very good. Maestros en Oficios. It's in the book. Está en el libro, Customer-Centric Selling. Customer-Centric Selling. And I think if you go to customercentric.com, that's the website, customercentric.com. Go to the website. Or, again, look at my recommendations below. Maestros, look at the recommendation. Click on that link, and I have the book in there, Customer-Centric Selling. So check it out. Subscribe to Sales and Life-Changing. I can't believe it's free. I should charge for it, Matt. Thank you very much, Chris. Ouch. Just my punishment for arriving late. Even though I have missed some vital data, better late than never. Jeremy, you're here, man, JJ. So thank you for being here. Just watch it on the replay, man. Oh, you missed some good stuff, man. You missed some good stuff. My experience was we came out on top out of 5 choices, but until now, no decision. It happens, man. I prefer to listen to their needs first. I agree. I mean, I want to hear that. I don't want to tell them something they don't need. So they'll tell me what they need. I'll ask key questions. That's why I said it is the quality of the questions that determine the quality of the conversation. Smart people like you, Sergio, will ask good questions and let the customer tell you what they need. Once they tell you what they need, then you just have to figure out how to line your product up, and then it's a great presentation. The comment I was making earlier that some people over-present too many items, and when you start doing that, the customer gets confused and lost. So first, handle their needs by listening to what they have to offer. I agree with you 100%, hermano. Looping to build more certainty. Looping to build more certainty. I don't know what that means, but I think we're on the same page that you have to increase their certainty, right? You have to figure out a way to make them more sure. Like Vinay, in your question, it's like, how do you ensure that it's not going to fail? That's what they want to know. They want to feel good about that decision. Remember, I always say there's certainty and anxiety. You want to increase certainty and reduce anxiety. So, Inquisitor, you are on it, man. Hi, Vic. Saludo desde Miami, Elkin. Hey, from Miami, man. Love Miami. You know me, man. Let me see. I do it at the last part. Now I mean introducing our company. Thanks, Master V. Yeah, I think it's, and again, there's nothing wrong with giving a little preview of what you're going to talk about your company. Let them know who you are, how long you've been around. my name is da-da-da, work with this company. We've been around for 25 years. I'm the vice president of da-da-da-da-da. I'll tell you more about my company later. First, let's talk about what you need, right? And do it like that. Find that. Pete Primo says, this is beautiful. That graph is beautiful, man. I'm telling you, I saw that graph years ago, and I'm still thinking that is a great graph. So when I interviewed Frank, I was like, I'm doing that graph on the Sales After Dark. So I just told a friend that I have hit a plateau of $250,000 in sales a month, and I wanted to figure out how to get over that. You, sir, may have just got me over the hump with this. Great stuff. Matt, thank you very much, man. Let me know if it works out, man. I always like to hear great stories, man. So, man, that's good numbers, man. Good numbers. Risk avoidance trumps all. Great lesson. It really does, right? But notice it wasn't so much about price, right? It was really about the risk, man. I think that's kind of like, and Pete's on that, man. It is powerful, man. It is powerful. TJ, what you got? Totally agree. Most especially here in the Philippines where people are still apprehensive towards life insurance companies. I hear you on that one, man. Tarun, what do you got? Great insight, Victor. Yes, this mistake is very common where company profile explained in the first place. Yeah, you're killing, I think, your most valuable time. I think the first 5 to 10 minutes, no more than 15, are the most valuable. That's the most valuable time you have with the client, especially the first 3 to 5 minutes. If you think about how you start, it's like any runner, right? It's how you come out of the gate. How do you start that really draws them into your story? And all you got to do is say, look, we'll talk about my company later. First, let's talk about your need. That lets them know, I'm here to talk about you, man. I'm here to talk about you. Risk, thank you for the insight, man. Thank you, Sparrow's Tail. Mr. International, thanks for posting this content, man. You're very welcome, man. Spencer Riley, what you got, man? Knowing their needs leads you to the risk avoidance. Sales itself, if done right. Yeah, that's it. I mean, once you know what they're worried about, then you really present to that, right? Reduce that uncertainty that they currently have. So I'm with you on that. I'm out of breath listening to you, VA. Great stuff. So am I, Miles. So am I, man. So am I. Did you like this? Get the sales. Thank you, man. Like I said, check out the Sales Velocity Academy. You'll love it. Rod Vidre. I'm always afraid to click on this guy, man. All right, here we go. Love it as always. I know you do, man. Joe Rogan of Sales Podcast. What's your best rebuttal if you were to start business and haven't been around for long and not endowed with the largest amount of reviews? I think you can at least, my rebuttal would be this. I know that you can get, let me put it this way. I would never want to go after big customers without trying my product or service on at least 2 or 3 good customers. So I could have 2 or 3 good customers, right? That would be my first thing. I would wait for the customer to say, so if the customer says, Victor, you haven't been around that, I said, gotcha. I said, I got some references, things we're going to do. What a lot of customers also want is remember, it's all about reducing risk. That's all it is, Rod. That's all it is. So you have so many variables to play with. For example, if I really believe in my product, I mean, I know it works. Rod, if I know the product works, I have no doubt it'll work. And then it's just a matter of us coming to terms. Why don't I do, instead of net 30, I'll do net 90. In other words, you don't pay me in 30 days, you'll pay me in 90 days. In fact, why don't I just send my engineers over there, we'll put it in the system, we'll do a field try. At the end of 30 days, you don't take it, we'll pull it out. I've done that. Because customers, I'm not sure I want to work with you, Victor. And if I do work with you, it's going to be very expensive. I've done installs as an electrical engineer. I've done installs at telecom companies for free just to prove our solution. So if you really believe your solution, then there's so many things you can do to give them some type of guarantee that your product is going to work. And by the way, they'll sense that. Because if I'm talking to you, Rod, and I know my product works, right? I'll say, look, tell me what kind of guarantee you need from me, because I know this is going to help your company grow. I have no doubt. If you use it the way I say, you do it, it'll work. What do we need to negotiate here for you to feel comfortable? That would be my rebuttal, if that can be one. Let me know what you think of that one. But remember, it's all confidence, right? If you really believe it. Sam, my man. Hi, Victor. What do you think of taking the risk graph in phase 3 to 0 by changing only when results are delivered, especially for services? You could argue, my man, Sam, you're right. I went to Green Eggs and Ham. I don't know why, Sam, but I went to Green Eggs and Ham, the book. But your point is well taken. I don't think you take risk to 0, but you may be arguing an interesting point. I've never thought about it till now, till you pointed this out to me, that maybe there's the phase 4, right? The phase 4 is when risk goes to 0 because you're a known entity. You've implemented the system, right? And now risk goes down, and then maybe price shoots up a little bit because now the customer's been a customer, maybe they want a better price. So maybe Maybe we should suggest to these folks over customer-centric selling that there is a phase 4, which is the follow-up. That's a really good point. That's really insightful, Sam, man. Thank you for that. I learned something from you today, man. That was good. Blocking objections is the best. Blue clients mind away. I'm just telling you, if you implement blocking objections, Sales Velocity Academy, check it out. Just that course alone will make you your money back. Way to present. And I talked about it in the past, so check it out. Maestro says, thank you. You're very welcome, man. Vinay, thank you, Vic. Hope that helped. Like I said, it's a tough question. A bit late, but better late than never. Kenry, glad you're here, man. Glad you're here, man. Just watch it on the replay. Sergio, you're very welcome. Innovation tutorials. Customers can only tell you so much. That is correct, right? That's why, let's say it again, the quality of the questions determine the quality of the conversation, because sometimes the customer doesn't even know what they need until you ask them specific questions or you share with them content that they haven't thought about or even been exposed to. So that is when you, the salesperson, become the differentiator. So let them tell you what they need. But sometimes they tell you what they need, but maybe they tell you what they want, but maybe they don't understand their needs. There's needs and wants, right? There's things that they want, but there's things that they actually need. And maybe you're going to come in over the top and says, hey, by the way, you haven't mentioned this, but here's something I know you'll need. So you're absolutely right. Those conversations have to happen. Rich Boy Manny, love it, man. Rich Boy Manny, thank you for joining me, man. Appreciate you being here, man. Inquisitor's back. I'm going to sign off in just a bit. Do you ask your customers permission to ask qualifying questions before doing so? No, I hate when people do that. If it's just a natural conversation, let's have a natural conversation. I mean, imagine going on a date. Imagine going on a date and saying, excuse me, you look good. Can I ask you some qualifying questions to see if you're a right match for me? I mean, it's almost insulting if you think about it, right? The thing is, the more you can engage in a dialogue, I mean, you know what the qualifying questions are, right? You know how you're going to qualify them, but just try to find a way to slide them in your conversation, but never announce, I am now going to ask you qualified questions. Are you okay with that? Don't do that. Don't do that, Inquisitor. I wouldn't do it, man. Juka's in the house. He's late, but better late than never, man. Thank you for being here. DJ Kitty Patel. What I do in my sales since my company is 9 years old, I show them the done product at the other customer and they will fall in love. And in my internal design business, and that's big competition. So in other words, you show them what you've already done. And because they see it, social proof, right? They see it, they go, oh, okay, so you can do it. This gets back to the question is, how do you reduce that risk? And that is by demonstrating business you've already done. That was also Rod's question when I said, Rod, if you have existing customers, just like DJ Kitty, once you have existing customers, boom. And if you're doing a lot of internal designs, and internal design is like really very subjective, right? Very artsy, subjective, very, different taste. So that's got to be a tough sale. So you must be a great salesperson, man, to do that. So congratulations. Cameron, super stuff, Victor. Pandemic has really good for us in terms of sales. Thank you. Well, there it is, man. A lot of people are growing their sales, man. They're making the adjustments. My man, Ariel Ginga, man. Victor Sales Academy is the best. Better than even the Cardone Zone. By the way, I'm going to be fair about this. You can also find my courses in the Cardone Zone, and the Cardone Zone actually has great courses just as well, man. They're good friends of mine, good partners of mine, so stop trying to make, some difficulty here, man. Just Ariel, but they're cool people. They got great courses. They put together some new training programs over at the Cardone Zone. So whether you buy it directly from me or you go over to Grant Cardone and buy it at the Cardone Zone, do it there. It doesn't matter, man. In the end, it's all good, man, as long as you're successful. Ariel, great to see you here, man. Elkin, thanks for the great content. Knowing how to communicate with a prospect is vital on targeting what to show them during the presentation. Well said. I can't add anything to that, my friend. Vic, thanks. Awesome insights tonight. You lived up your Instagram promo. Yeah, Chris Stone's been on me about doing the Instagram promo stuff, man. He has IG. Oh, my God. We'll check it out later. All right, man. So I'm going to close this thing out by, always as always, doing my final thoughts. So again, the final thoughts are this. Even though this book was written in 2014, they've been updating. I think it's the second update they're going to do now for 2020. So it includes a lot of the current stuff. But again, the buyer psychology hasn't changed. The big takeaway, well, several big takeaways. The first takeaway is that customers who come in with already their solutions defined, remember, part of your job is to make them step back because they're coming to you for an evaluation. Why are you better than them? remember to pull them back into the specification, like defining what it is they really need, and have that conversation first before you try to prove why your product is the best. By the way, before I forget, do me a favor. If you really like the Sales After Dark, hit the subscribe, hit the like button, and always share it with at least one person. That's all I ask, man. That'd be kind of cool if you can share it with one person. And the second thing is, again, as you move into the evaluation, again, that's when you line up your product and match them. But notice in phase 3, it's more about risk than it is about price. So stop worrying about price. I'm not saying don't think about it, but stop thinking it's the main thing. Most customers don't decide because they view things as very risky. And on that note, I'm going to sign off here. This is Victor Antonio, Sales After Dark, because money never sleeps, always reminding you, selling ain't hard when you know how. Take care. Thank you for joining me. Take care, guys. See ya.